Hello, everyone. Okay, thank you. I love this meme. It applies for product management, sales, marketing, you name it, all of those people in the Venn diagram, right? But before I jump into the topic to establish my credibility as a speaker on this topic, I just want to tell a little bit more about myself. Anybody here from mechanical engineering background? Long, short? Oh, one person, awesome. You may have heard of Ansys, but all of the companies I worked for, Ansys, KUKA Robotics, MathWorks, these are all highly technical, B2B, large enterprises, and they cater to customers who are engineers, right? So I have been a mechanical engineer graduate myself and been in product marketing, started from technical support, moved to product marketing and product management, and more recently back at Ansys again for product marketing. So I have been on both sides of the coin over the last 10 years and wanted to share some of my personal life experiences of working on both sides and what worked best in order to get things done. Right, so let's see. Next. Okay, so in the agenda today, I would like to cover 3 things. Just show you a window into the day in the life of a product manager. What are they going through every day? Figure out what are the different responsibilities, where is the ownership on the different responsibilities coming from, and challenge you to think in terms of competencies instead of responsibilities, and 3 strategies to get things done. I don't think I'll take the whole 30 minutes, and I'll make sure get out of your way to your lunch, but please bear with me in the next 20 minutes or so. So let's start with where do we fit in the whole product organization, right? At a very high level, you probably already know the answer to this. Product management sits closer to engineering. They are discovering, building, and getting a product ready to be shipped and ready to be launched. Whereas product marketing kind of sits closer to the customer, closer to the sales organization. If you have well-established sales organization, taking the product and getting to market, launching it, and actually doing the go-to-market, right? However, we have that white space extending all the way to the customer on both sides of the roles, and this is where a lot of the confusion happens. Now, in order to discover and build a product manager typically runs a user research. They are interviewing customers to get their requirements. They are translating those requirements into what product they need to build, working with engineering and user experience teams to build those products. And then we come into picture. We as product marketers come into picture where we are developing the messaging and the positioning, and then we are launching. Most of you might have heard of this, the telephone game, right? Like we used to play this as kids where, there are a series of people, one person tells a phrase and then you need to tell the phrase, and towards the end, it's never the original phrase. And that's what happens in these cases too. The customer provides some product manager with some requirements. They translate those into product, requirements and build the product. And then you come into picture with having never heard of those requirements firsthand, but you need to write that messaging documents in the language that the customer needs to understand. And I mean, there's a lot of inefficiency in this process. And I just want to take a step back because I, as a product manager, interacted with customers more than as a product marketer. And I want to get a sense in the room, how often do you talk with customers directly? Like, 80% of the time, are you talking with the customers? Yes, yeah, only one person showed up their hand, couple of people, but we often want to be the voice of the customer, right, as product marketers, but we do not often interact with customers. And there are all these different points, like sales is talking with customers, product managers are talking with customers, and everybody is getting different bits and pieces of information, whereas where do we fit, right? So that is the white space where a lot of the confusion comes, and I have a few strategies to close that gap and be better and efficient. But moving in, before diving into that, just to show you what the life of a PM looks like, right? So at a very high level, again, they are dwelling in the future, whereas us as product marketers, we are kind of dealing with the present, like today, what can we do today to help our sales close the deals today? But for the product manager, it's more, what are the 3 to 5 year product goals? How do I bring that down to what can we do in the next 1 year, down to what is a roadmap to get there in the next quarter, down to what do we do in the next 2 weeks and ship something to our customers, right? And often our conversations with the product manager is at that last stage, what is coming in the next 2 weeks, or at best at the quarterly level if there is a big launch that has been planned, right? So I think that can be changed. Just as my observation in the last 10 years, product management itself was not a very well-defined role. For example, the first company I worked at, we didn't have 2 separate organizations. There was product marketing manager, there was engineering manager. We did some of product management, engineering teams did some of product management. So these teams, these responsibilities are just being defined as we go, right? And similar is the situation with product marketing. Ansys, for example, the company I work for right now, has been around for 50 years, but we still are figuring out what is the product marketing organization inside the company. So these are some discussions to be had, like where do we come into the picture? How do we influence the roadmap? How do we influence the strategy? Maybe we don't own it, but at least we have the seat at the table, bring the voice of the customer to the strategy and the roadmap, right? So at a very high level, this is the life of a product manager. And some typical PM, PMM conversations, right? They just ask you to work your PowerPoint magic on a slide deck. Like, you had no idea what this use case is. You don't know which customer they're talking about. They just give you a slide deck. And this can happen with sales too, more often maybe with sales. And you're a well-intentioned product marketer, so like, okay, sure, I'll do it. But in your head, I'm like, I'm not your PowerPoint monkey, right? Like, I don't want to just beautify your PowerPoint slide decks. I have competencies better than that. I just listed 3 here, but there are many more conversations like this. And the most frustrating thing is, when priorities change, and under the context and pretext of being agile, these priorities change a lot within the product management. I have been on that side where you get a customer who's going to pay $10 million, ask for a feature, and they have to drop everything to go build that feature, and that's the reality. And you are, as a product marketer, only getting to know about that 2 days before the launch. You need to go drop whatever you are doing and go help with this launch of this new capability, right? So the question, that's the right question, why am I not involved in this decision? Why am I not part of this launch team? Taking it one step further, am I not the one who should be facilitating this launch if something is changing in terms of priority, right? So as a product marketer, we have these internal discussions going on, and I would like to challenge you to take it one step further with the model I'm going to present, that is the responsibilities versus competencies. If you go on Google and search for PM versus PMM, or what are product marketing responsibilities versus product management responsibilities, a lot of the times the guidance or the advice is to draw a line between ownership, like who owns what, like messaging, positioning. These are responsibilities, like who owns what inside the greater set of things that we need to do in the product organization. And the greens or yellows are just something that I have noted as things that typically green is something that is owned by marketing, and yellow is some like the gray area can be shared between PMs and PMMs. But I would like to challenge you to think in terms of competencies, right? We as a person, given where we come from, our background, our experiences, we could be better at some things compared with our product managers. For example, user research and talking with customers and getting that customer voice of customer has been discussed this morning a lot. Perhaps You as a product marketer, you're better at listening, better at asking questions, better at getting that input. And you mark yourself as green in that area. Or for example, presentation skills. Perhaps you are a better presenter compared with your product manager in your organization. So this is going to be very, very custom built for your product and the product managers that you're supporting. So my ask or my challenge for you when you go back to your desk is to have an open, passionate debate or a conversation with your product team to figure out where your competencies are. Instead of thinking about this is my responsibility versus your responsibility, perhaps I'm better at this, so let me start with this, and then we kind of coach each other to get better at each of these competencies. So I have stolen this again from Product Marketing Alliance, which has a really good definition of where each of the two teams fall and the areas where there is a big intersection, especially the market research and the product packaging areas that are bold here, which I'm really happy to see, is because these are the areas where we do it separately. Like product management does user research and we do market research. We don't have to separate those out. It could be one thing. So those are the types of things, those are the types of conversations you could start to have with your product teams. Now, 3 strategies, really partnership and ownership were the main ones. I wanted a word that ends with ship and I couldn't find, so sinking other ships. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But partnership. Think of it as a handshake instead of a hand-off, right? Like we saw that sliding scale between engineering customer where product is built and now it is handed off to you as a product marketer to go to market or launch it. But think of it as more of a hand-off, like in terms of you are better at building the messaging and positioning for this document, for this capability, so you do it. Or saying, as a product manager, I am better at building the messaging document. If you are better at presenting or coming up with an SEO strategy, those types of things, you go and do that. So have that honest conversation and not just hand it off or just take over the responsibility of things that you probably are not really good at. Again, operate from strengths, going back to the competency model. Figure out those competencies that you are really good at and then operate from there and then peer mentor each other to get better at the areas in which you need to improve. Ownership is all about being proactive. Again, you may have seen the T-shaped marketing skills here. I just got something from internet, but it's basically having a breadth of knowledge of various topics within product marketing, but really getting deep and learning one or a few skills that sets you apart as a product marketer. So become known for one of those skills. It could be go-to-market, it could be market research, it could be any of those things. For example, I am really good at messaging and positioning, so with any product I work with, and we do have a lot of acquisitions like you had at Buzzrvoice, I always try to take up the messaging and the positioning aspects and dive deep into those and develop the breadth of knowledge. So I let my product manager know that this is the area, even though you are passionate about, I will be owning it because I'm better at it, right? So, and there is a way to do that. I'm not just gonna go say like, you suck, but the real way to do it, I mean, there's a whole room next to us, so let's be a little bit empathetic about them. But the thing is to showcase what you are good at. And that cannot be done in your head. It cannot just be an internal voice. It has to be said out, and we have to advocate for ourselves, like Nisha mentioned earlier. And the more important thing is to learning to say no. If you're just asked to beautify a PowerPoint slide deck, just say no, and have that conversation and go to the next step. And you do know how to work with PowerPoint, so you can do that on your own kind of a discussion. So if you want to build the dream team to be more efficient and get things done, you have to learn to say no. In fact, right now we are all working from home, and I started at Ansys remotely, but in my previous company, we used to have a T-shirt with no written on it, like, just to make the conversation easy. And here, it's all about competition. This slide, the reason I brought up competition, and I wanted to make a joke to see if there are any project managers in the room, because having a common enemy. But no, I'm not going there. I'm really talking about competition here, really. Having a common enemy will always strengthen friendships and relationships. It's a thing that happens in humans. We are all human beings, whatever the title we might have, product manager, marketer, whatever, right? But if there is one project you wanted to get started with, to build that relationship, to get to know your product manager better, get them to know you better, start with the competitive analysis. It's on both of these roles' plate. They need to figure out what features and capabilities they need to build in order to tackle competition. You need to figure out how are you going to tell the message to the market to tackle competition. So competitive analysis is one area where you both can align on OKRs and figure out a way to work together to get your product to the market. And this is not a negotiation class, but in a classic negotiation, it's always separate people from your problem. So if you're running into issues in conversations with your product management, separate those two out and focus on your product, focus on your company, focus on your business, and get things done. So those are at least my personal experiences. As long as I focused on my competencies and exhibited my competencies, took ownership wherever I can, partnered with them wherever I can, I was successful on both sides of the roles. So key takeaways, a product manager's life is just as chaotic as a product marketer's life. They are also fighting fires and responding to random requests from development and customers and sales, but have a little empathy on them too. We don't know what's the backstory when they're asking you to work on something that is quite random, but at the same time, use your individual competencies to advance yourself inside the company and in partnership with the product management. Again, the last point on ownership and partnership where appropriate. That's all I have. Can take any questions, any burning thoughts about product management, or how to work together, or we can chat at lunch as well. No, I did not say that. I did not.
We do have a few questions that have come in via Slido. What is the best way to build a relationship with PMs over time that leads towards earning a seat at the product vision table?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer to that question is asking questions. It's being curious about what their frustrations are, about being curious about what they are going through in terms of building a product, right? When it comes to the product, which is the common thing between you and them, asking as many questions about the product, why certain decisions were made, and voicing your opinion on, why did you think of it that way versus this way? That builds credibility. So I think trust is like the bottom foundation layer, and my go-to is by asking a lot of good questions. And I have not done this early in my career, but more recently, the thing that's working out is to have those weekly check-ins with my product management. We have a one-on-one, and sometimes there are no topics. We just get on a call and talk about kids or COVID or whatever, right? Like, we do that so that we are still in sync and touch, and that helps build that level of trust and relationship. There might be other advice, but this is something that worked for me.
We have another good one here. Do you think that the PLC process can help have a seat at the table during the product vision phase? And
I'm not sure what's PLC process. Product life cycle? Okay.
Product life cycle.
sorry, so do you think a PLC process can help have a seat at the table during the product vision phase? Yeah, so I don't know if every company has a PLC process per se. That's not something that I have gone through, but usually a product vision happens way earlier in the cycle, even before the product is being built, hopefully, right? But having those conversations early on with your product manager will be very valuable. The problem is, at least in my case, there are at least 3 or 4 products that are in various stages of their product life cycle that I am the product marketer for, and there are 3 or 4 product managers that I need to work with. So it's very useful if you sit with your product managers early on in the product life cycle, so that you actually understand the vision and you are bought into it and have those conversations. But I haven't been in conversations where the product vision has not already been set, but I believe that you should have those conversations early on to have an impact on the vision itself.
And we've got one more here that's very interesting. Do you think PM and PMM swim lanes should mirror themselves? For example, if a PM is focused on retention, should there also be a PMM focused on retention?
That's a great question. I would think so to a certain extent. Your OKRs should align, but I will be very surprised to hear from anybody that there is a one-to-one correlation, one PM, one PMM. It's always, like I said, as a PMM, you're supporting various products or maybe even solutions to a certain extent. So it might be hard to have like one PMM focused on just retention of a product, which is the case for a product manager. But to a certain extent, it has to be aligned with your goals and with your OKRs. That's my experience.
How about for PMMs that cover a huge product or a huge suite or range of products, and they may be supporting many PMs, how do you recommend maintaining the relationship and the teamwork when the ratio is high?
Yeah, and that's the case. That's the case with me wherever I worked, like I already mentioned. I have individual one-on-ones with the PMs so that the conversations are different because the products are in different stages of the life cycle, and each PM has a different set of competencies as well. Like as a PMM, my competencies could be set because I'm one person, but the needs, this PMM is very technical in nature, let's say, and they are very well versed to talk about the product, do a demo, show to the customer the product, the greatness of the product, but perhaps is not able to talk at the buyer persona level, is not able to create that messages for a buyer persona. That's where I'm coming and helping. Versus there is another product manager, let's say, and they are already really good at the business side of things. They probably are not very well in alignment with sales. That's where I come in and say the sales needs to be trained. So you need to basically create a slide deck or create a training program to enable the salespeople to build that trust with the sales. So it has to be those one-on-one conversations. I have seen both types of organizations where they are more BU centric, where there is a product manager, product marketing manager, all in one business unit. And I have seen where engineering is more BU centric and product organization is one, where it's possible to have those team level conversations. But nothing beats the one-on-one conversations. It is time taking, it is a lot of effort, but I strongly advocate those one-on-one conversations.
Well, let's give another round of applause for Priyanka. Thank you so much. That was a great discussion. I'm not even going to hop on the stage. It's time for lunch. And we'll see you back here at 2 o'clock.